Hi, this is Real World Audio, and I'm going to talk again about live loudspeaker cabinets, and namely about my interpretation on them, because whenever someone says, okay, I have live cabinets or I build or design them, they are often covering a really wide range. And my take on it is my take. It doesn't mean that every live cabinet you will find was built with my design criteria. No, it's like a really wide range. Just like inert cabinets, they also span a really wide range of execution. And there's also other types of loudspeakers which do not have traditional cabinets, like for example open baffles, but even those do have a cabinet, but it's not a box, it's just a flat surface. So with an open baffle, you still have a choice of an inert open baffle or a live open baffle. So it means that the baffle on which the driver or drivers are mounted or is mounted, that thing, does it resonate, does it vibrate, or does it stay inert and just the cone is doing most of the energy transfer to the air. So I could talk day and night, and we can have excellent discussion about questions, because I really love that I'm getting tons of wonderful comments, and we have really amazing dialogues going on, and that's fantastic. That's one of the purpose of my channel, to get the brain cells going and speeding up for all of us, including mine. Uh, but what you really need is like someone other than me telling you whether my ideas, whether they work or not, because me saying something, who knows, whatever. But I'm in that lucky situation that Eduard, he also tried out my ideas and he reported on them. So now I'm just cheating off my computer and I'm reading out Eduard's comment. And he said that I feel this video is a good synopsis of your philosophy. 3 things got me on your path. Number 1, hearing the clarity and depth of a 25% efficient driver. So basically what I'm using is very efficient driver in an efficient cabinet, and that makes a big difference. So especially if you never tried out efficient drivers, it can be quite a surprise to hear them. Hey, it looks like I'm looking now at the camera. I just flipped it over and now it looks right. It looks as if now I'm looking at the dead center, and this is what I've been doing all the time. Just my phone was flipped. So maybe it's solved. Okay. And then that's one thing. That's the same thing that I've noticed, that as the efficiency gets higher and higher, you get increasing depth and increasing clarity. And I can also add that the scale, you get bigger scale as well. What Eduard said, number 2 thing, adding just a little damping to a bare cabinet and hearing that even that sounded off. So basically, all these discussions started stemming from my NORAS video, whether it's good to use NORAS or not. Usually, it's really a good idea to use NORAS. It's going to bring forth very pronounced differences in your sound. And as I had people comment who tried out NORAS, for example, there was a comment when he added NORAS, the bass actually went down. And there was increased clarity, but the sound changed a lot. Like he had a very different loudspeaker, and there were positives and negatives to it. So NORAS is not a fix it all thing. It can be a good thing. It will definitively change the sound, but it also depends on what was your starting point and where you will get at. However, what we are noticing now, what Eduard is reporting on, is not tweaking a normal commercial loudspeaker which was built in a compact size, and then when you add noise to it, then it can have a pretty beneficial effect on it. However, what he built is just what I'm using. It's a big live cabinet, so it's like a huge live resonant cabinet. And when he added damping into it, then the sound became off. And I had a similar experience. So after I built my cabinets, I tried out polyfill, try to see how the filling works with them. And I added about 15% polyfill, like really light polyfill, only to the left loudspeaker, the left cabinet, and listened to it, and the sound was really off, like really messed up off, and it sounded almost as if the driver was halfway demagnetized, the bass collapsed, and it was just like really bad sounding. I really scrambled to just remove the polyfill as soon as I can. And the weirdest thing that happened is not just the sound collapsed, but it had a dullness to it, like the life getting sucked out of it. And really it sounded as if the efficiency went significantly down compared to the the right cabinet, which wasn't treated. So now let's look at the third observation of Edward. Hearing directional sound after omni made me realize non-omni is ridiculously far away from any live performance. What is he talking about? So basically, these loudspeakers that I'm talking about, they are omnidirectional loudspeakers. So it means that they radiate sound in every direction. And normally, when you have a regular cabinet, especially if it's an inert cabinet, then the drivers in the front will radiate in a directional manner. And that is something very different than omnidirectional radiation. And why is this such a big thing? Number one, if you have strong directivity, it means you have a very narrow sweet spot. So that's why the sweet spot is getting squeezed more tighter and tighter, because we are using loudspeakers with higher and higher directivity. And when you have an inert cabinet, the more inert the cabinet is, the tighter your sweet spot is going to be. And that's because there is no omnidirectional radiation. The sweet spot is going to open up, it's going to get wider when you have an omnidirectional radiator. But that's not the only consequence of omnidirectional radiation. There's something, even another factor that's even more important, is that basically almost every instrument, the way they make sound, is omnidirectional radiation. So if we want to reproduce instruments that create omnidirectional sound with directive loudspeakers, something will be really off. And I can report the exact same as Eduard has reported, that after you try out omnidirectional sound, when you want to go back to directive loudspeakers, they all sound very broken. It's not that they don't sound pretty, they don't sound nice, you can't enjoy them. Yes, you can, but when you compare how it sounds to natural music, when you hear music real life, or even people talking in the room, it's very fake. And Nelly was telling me that when we go to and hear an audiophile system with the typical directive setups, even from the next room she can pick up right away, oh, there's an audiophile sound going on down there. And when you have omnis, if you are in the next room, then it just sounds there's some live event going on in the other room. Let's see what Eduard also wrote. Please experiment yourself. It's extremely enlightening. Don't believe any video, just your ears. That's what I'm telling you guys to. Try it out, and then you will hear it for yourself. And unfortunately, there's really few people who are willing to try new ideas out. Most people are way more comfortable just to, like, it cannot work. It's kind of like, I'm in a troll cave. But when you just willing to, try out, check it out, maybe it doesn't work, whatever, or maybe if it does, and you were looking for something, maybe you are looking for that, and if you are not trying it out, you will never find it. So what he said is that the intriguing part to me is why a live cabinet would help so much, considering that your and my live cabinet are only active roughly below 500 hertz. So what's going on here? So what sort of live cabinets are these? Because what we are doing is we are crossing the woofer at 500 hertz. So basically all the resonant energy that the cabinets are putting out is essentially below 500 hertz. So why is that important? And that's really important. And I purposely have done it so that most of the resonant energy in the below 500 hertz zone. Number one reason is that the ear's precise spatial location ability works above 500 hertz. And that's because if that corresponds to the distance between our two ears. So if the sound wave is longer than 500 hertz, our ears are too close together to spot the direction where that sound is coming from. So if I'm adding part of the resonant energy from the cabinets, it's going to have a little bit of time delay compared to the vibrating membrane. But if that little delay is happening below the region where my ear can acutely sense directionality, it's not going to muddy up the image, the stereo image. And it's not going to mess around with the ability of the brain to precisely locate what's happening in the sound. And you would be thinking that, under 500 hertz, what's going on? Because if you listen to how sine waves or music sounds, if you just take off everything above 500 hertz, you just go like a muddy something. You can't even make out much of it. It's like a really bland, lifeless, like kind of like an energy type of thing going. So why is a resonant cabinet happening there? And it's happening there because the live cabinet is an omnidirectional radiator. So what it's doing is that it's transmitting acoustic energy to the room. And why is it such a critical thing to happen? That's because your driver can optimally transmit energy to air at the frequency that corresponds to the size of the woofer. So I have a 16-inch woofer. These Artec woofers are 16-inch diameters, and they are happy transmitting energy down to 200 hertz. Below that, their efficiency drops, and that's because the driver is too small to communicate acoustic energy to the air. And now, with this live cabinet, basically what I am doing is I'm letting the surface of the loudspeaker communicate that energy to the air. And because the surface, now I calculated it, and it's over 20 times bigger, the complete surface of the cabinet compared to the driver's surface. So when I'm communicating energy at a 20 times greater surface, then the efficiency of that communication will be down to 20 times lower frequencies. So the barrier that I'm hitting with the cone movement to efficiently transmit energy to air, it's at 200 hertz. Now 20 times less through the cabinet surface, 200 divided by 20 equals 10. So I am extending the efficiency of the communication from 200 hertz down to 10 hertz. So basically, while the driver itself cannot keep up with the zone below 200 hertz, but the cabinet itself is picking up the slack. So while the driver in itself is just losing the connection, but the total energy radiated is still getting transmitted to air because the much larger surface is capable to transmit it. And when you have 20 times greater surface area, it means you need 20 times less cone movement. So if I have 1 millimeter cone movement that produces 100 dB SPL at 20 hertz, in the case of my loudspeaker, then the cabinet needs to move 50 microns to generate, to basically to radiate equal amount of energy. And the cabinet is easily able to make those resonances, and the transfer to the air will be fantastic. And when I added the polyfill, even though I added like 15 centimeters worth of polyfill to the bottom, that's enough to dampen the resonance of the cabinet so that it's totally collapsed the bass. The bass totally disappeared, but even like up to the 500 hertz zone, just was a total suck out. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that's a little bit helpful to explain what's going on with live cabinets. And thank you, Edward, for your excellent report. And have a great day. Bye bye.